Okay, y'all, thanks for checking in episode 4 of LoveCraft Country. I will say this episode gave me real, heart racing, higher blood pressure. I'm like, yo, I'm scared of the monsters by all means, more when it's spirits and ghosts, not when it's monsters from the ground or some crap like that. Call it my Louisiana roots, but I don't play about it at all. But the thing was, though, it's like, black people watch this show. And I'm one of those folks who may be predispositioned to have such because my father had a heart attack. So at some point, I'm like, whew, I need to start watching this in increments. And excuse me, that's why it's coming this type of hour. Instead of watching it last night, I went ahead and started this morning at 11. Opening up with Christina Brainwith, driving what is the classic Bentley through the streets of Chicago, zooming in and out, speeding, with Rihanna bumping in the background. I want a big upset, but something touched my soul. Every time you see from the back of that vehicle, those windows are super tinted, like illegally tinted. Yeah, I know y'all gonna be like, we ain't come here to find out about the law. Yeah. We gotta talk about the law with LoveCraft as well. But then, and this is what matters for director of photography and continuity, when they shoot in, angles going in at the side, the windows have no tint. So I'm like, is this what I'm supposed to believe? This is magic and I'm supposed to dispel reality and just accept Christina don't want you seeing in, but she can see out. But whenever you walk up on the vehicle, you don't see the tint. And also, it's the 50s, tint wasn't invented then. It was probably more than anything, not even a legal concept. But I'm just saying, I need tint. And being, again, from the deep south all these years, you learn tint really helps push back against that heat in that car in a whole nother way. But being in the Midwest now, I'm parking in the garage long enough. You're like, yeah, I'm fine. But boy, I leave that car outside, I forget in a heartbeat. And water just be boiling. Anywho, Christina Brainwith, going through her day, arrives at Leti's house. And yeah, Letitia has her own place. Remember, she bought it last episode and she was able to get rid of the prior owner, Hiram, the doctor, who was doing illegal experiments on black folks. It worked out, though, that she had the goat lady show up and walk through to get rid of those bad, evil spirits and release the ones that were trapped as well. Because guess what? Christina Brainwith was going to just walk in somebody's house. Y'all, I don't know. And this is where I have to question. Am I getting of a certain age where I become my parents and my uncles and that elder generation that they hate these kind of pre-civil rights movies, or even where it's a struggle for your freedoms or be subjugated to individuals as black folks? And I just was flabbergasted. Even as a renter, I never just liked somebody walking on in. You have to be invited in. And I get the concept is your property, but you also have to get the concept I'm paying to be here, to hold this. So you just don't show up unannounced and think you finna barge into my house. So I was happy that little force field, boop. That force field made her get back. I was just like, yeah, that's it. But anyhow, we learned what that solar system setup was called. Orrery? I'm saying it wrong, I'm sure. Orrery. But I'm glad Leticia asked, what the F is an orrery? She was like, oh, blah, 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 blah. So now this makes me question, how did Hippolyta, how did the auntie escape amongst all that was going on last week with a whole golden mechanical solar system spinning? Look, y'all, I know they was eager to fight everybody. I know they was ready. The cops was coming. But baby, we never saw her do this. And I hate this at some point. And as much as I love LoveCraft Country, I don't like when they do too much off camera. You got to let me see it. I'm more realistic and I need to have this unfold. Not just for believability results, but I'm a little more logical and analytical. So this is why I don't do well with sci-fi. I can't just suspend reality and dispel the truth that I know and without more data pushing me into something. But I'm here for the racism. I'm here for the bigotry. I'm here for historical analysis. I am here for the resistance. I am here for the equality fight because, honey, Leticia kept getting it this episode. I'm like, look, I can see the dynamics of even Montrose. Montrose may look like a butthole. He really does, y'all. But you can understand from the component. I'm going to choose to dispel any other options and just assume. He is a father trying to protect his son. His son is stubborn and hard-headed. His son is hella focused on making some stuff happen, and he's scared. And parents, people operate differently in fear. So people operate based on fear and love. It can be a deadly combination, but that's why he's sabotaging so much. We get the flashbacks from Montrose being subjected to his father's abuse. I know older generations, I hate to say the word abuse, because I know some of the things I've done won't age well. Because, the Overton window shifts. Things that were acceptable even 10 years ago is not acceptable in 2020. Have not been acceptable 2-3 years, i.e. Kevin Hart playing Cowboys and Indians. And I know y'all may be like, what the hell? I didn't even know that was a thing. It is. It should be played out. Essentially, no one wants to be depicted as being scalped and being trained. And you got to question some of our teaching. How much of it is Eurocentric? How much of it is whitewashed? How much of it creates Caucasians as the heroes and everybody else as the needless savages that show up and get in the way? Manifest Destiny is a B, okay? And they talked about that as well when they got ready to, you could hear it in the speakers as they talk about Titus making trips and voyages to these islands in the Caribbean and the gifts he would get from the savages for training them out of their ways. It's a real thing. So back to the story and let's go with the sequence. From Brainwood leaving Letty's house, she finds out because Christina Brainwood told her, yo, Tick tried to pull a gun on me. I don't know how Leti found out this man was at the library. They ain't got no cell phones, no emails. Look, I know it's only so many places colored folks could have went in 1950s and it's south side of Chicago, but she way on the north side. Hell, even when you catch the L, that's an hour-long ride depending on where you're going. But I'm assume so much wasn't built up in 1950, so this was a hop, skip, and a jump for her to just chi and skedaddle on over to that library. Yeah, I say library without the R. Work with me. I do enjoy the humorous punch that they gave us. Leti comes in the library talking all loud, whispering loud, basically. Little boy reading earnestly. Shh. I was like, child, I'll take him tonight. For a child that reads and wants to read, ooh, baby, you can come to my house and be the royalty that you didn't know. Ultimately, Leti keeps talking, questioning Tick, like, why didn't you tell me what's going on? We can all share in her angst, which is, I've died, I've come back, I'm part of this, stop trying to leave me out. Here it is again, we're being protective, that fear and love drives this unreasonable level of protection that someone thinks. Tick thinks he's protecting Leti by leaving her out of things. It's crazy. Come on, y'all. So it's good that she pushes and speaks up for herself. She's really poignant about it. I will not label it aggressive. It is finding a place at the table. And let's just call it for what it is. If those of you who were alive and breathing then have something to say, please speak up in the comments. Was it harder? Was it easier? Do they exaggerate for TV? I don't know. But believe it or not, my mother, born in the 40s, I asked her one day, like maybe a couple of years back, because I had to just hear it directly from the source. Do you feel like it was harder being black or being a woman? And my mama said it. She's very dry, monotone, deadpan. Being a woman. And with no hesitation. And again, if you've ever watched any of my other YouTubes, I'll tell you quickly. You get a taste of it, but I was the darker one down south. So I'm just regular black from Louisiana. That matters. Watch some other YouTubes to understand what does that mean. I'm not Creole. I'm not Cajun. I'm just black. But my point in saying that is, you learn a few things like, oh, girls, anything you do, I can do better. We all got that like mantra at some point. But y'all, I came up in the 80s and the 90s when it was not adorable to be any shade of my color. Let's try that stuff. Not to mention, I went natural in 99. Even my father questioned my mother if I was a dyke. I was like, you met my mama with an afro. Are you kidding me? Yeah, I had an afro, y'all. It wasn't even like shade to the head, ball. It had grown out enough. Because I was wearing sew-ins to grow it out. I mean, I know now we understand that, but 1999 apparently rocked everybody's core. At any rate, the Midwest gave me true exposure to sexism. And it was baffling to me. Like, you do know I'm black. Like, I didn't know how to respond to it. In a professional setting, in a volunteer community service position, I was just befuddled. Like, yo, pick on me because I'm black. I know how to handle that, but woman, I didn't know ovaries. There's a few mammary glands, which we all have, but ovaries and a mammary glands, and mine's are pronounced, made me less than. You know how many other things I could do that makes me less than? Choose, whatever. Let's move on. So shout out for Misha Green for being able to craft this from the novel into the script that we have as it's executed on, TV. So the long and short of this one, which is really weird that we don't see it more often, but Hippolyta is running the shop. I'm like, is it a mechanic's place as well? Because Woody's always there, or is it just for the Green Book? Let's cut to Leticia and Montrose, daddy of Tick, meeting him in the back of the bar to explain he don't need to be traveling nowhere and it don't matter, and this is why I don't want to get you involved. Yeah. And Leticia's like, Tick, stop trying to be frustrated with your daddy. It's just your daddy. And I want to tell him too, I get it. He comes off ornery, cantankerous, grumpy. My dude, ain't this kind of like all elderly people at this point? Like, don't even get me started on my black family. Child, hell, I'm the epitome of it. I'm the walking embodiment of all the things I said I wouldn't do. Here I am doing it. The fussing. Ooh, it struck my chord. And I did enjoy when his daddy gave him a little keepsake about how to handle fussing. So, not to keep this running long, but they get to getting packed up for Woody to get out of town. You can see the transition between Tick and Leticia is weird. It's like they're kids on the playground fighting it out about something. I'm like, yo, he was your first. Dude, you were her first. You can't be more loving. Y'all ain't figured this out yet. I mean, I get it because I can be combative, especially with the ones I love the most, because it's like finding your space. And I also can see through Leticia's portrayal, or Jernese Smollett's portrayal of Leticia, that, okay, yeah, in relationships, I can be difficult. And that's not just amorous, but even familial, agape love, all around. And the reason why is, it's not that I don't have a filter. I see the value in making my position known. And I don't want to be discounted or discredited in any situation. Like, I have value here. I can add. I can help. Give me the opportunity. Don't just shut me out and say I can't do something. And that's what Tick tried. Tick didn't want her on a trip. Montrose turned. It was like, don't blame me. Here come Hippolyta with D and talk. Baby, y'all ain't got no school. Hey, maybe they don't, but Hippolyta is ready, honey. And clearly she's after the truth. But she's excited to take D to see a new planetarium. I'm like, y'all in Chicago. Did they not have a field museum there? But I know y'all like, field museum is different than a planetarium. You're right. Because we have one on the University of Wisconsin's campus that's really nice, actually. But you can tell I'm not part of the astrophysics department, and they really work over there. I have to worry about, the captain is part of some lodge. Basically, we learned that Blondie is trying to do the most to prove her worth because of she's not a man. So here's that common thread. We have Leticia over here showing, I'm being, misogyny is just holding everybody back. Simple as that. Christina Brainwith is being held back because her father is pissy. He ain't have a boy. Now we learning Tick may have been the bait to set up Brainwith, so Fitz from Scandal, to kill himself. Basically, Christina set it in motion knowing he'd have to get rid of the spell to make himself human, mortal, and that's what crushed the whole house. It was just too powerful and took him out in the process. Christina foresaw that coming. Christina, as Tick explained to Leticia, has a spell on her. You can't kill her. That's just what it is. It's unfortunate though, like we can't call it for what it is, but Hippolyta explains to her daughter once they make it to the museum and look at the constellation, Hera is what she named it. And it was essentially given to a Swedish astronomer's niece because they didn't want a black girl be in the face of the campaign, because apparently she won, but they learned she was black and that's just what it was. And I'm just like, boy, y'all had to put some effort to find out she was black, because Hippolyta don't tell me anything, but wait, is this Greek mythology? I said that on my first review. At any rate, her daughter screams it out to the whole room because her daughter feels like, Mom, you should have fought back. And I'm glad that they show Each generation gets tougher as time goes. Not tough as in hard, but more resilient. Eager to find their place amongst freedom and for the rights that are guaranteed to them, inalienable rights by the Constitution, Bill of Rights, the amendments, and everything we have in place, like policies and procedures. I'm perplexed, even if, because we have a tag along, Tree pops up to get a ride. Somebody, he got a Philly in Philly. And on the way to Boston, he could just say, look, y'all, maybe I'm a different kind of principled person, but if you're a user, why are you hanging with people you don't even like? And it's obvious he wants no part of Tick. He tells Letitia in the museum, you know why they call me Tree? Because most men have 2 legs. I got Tree. So Letitia read between the lines like, oh, wouldn't I have already known that since we screwed in high school? So apparently the only way Letitia knows that is because Tick told her and he told Tick. So I think Seymour is his real name and it goes by Tree. Seymour told Tick, I slept with Letitia. So it's like, why are you always showing up to throw salt on something? Clearly you have an inferiority complex when it comes to Tick. You thought you could pick on the boy with the Coke bottle glasses and now he's become something greater, bigger. I don't know, left the neighborhood and came back. So now you feel some kind of way? Y'all, that wears on my soul. Like, how am I responsible for catering and kowtowing to someone who has an inferiority complex or they have their own struggles? 4 Agreements is a really good book to address this if you need to learn how to cope with it. I don't do well. But to acknowledge, look, you feel some kind of way, so now you're coming for me. So Seymour goes over to Tick. You told Letitia what I said. Why wouldn't he? That's supposed to be his girl now. But anyway, he saw it as you ratted me out. Oh, I get it. You holding that. You mad because I sent you to the back to see old dude from the bar to ask about Montrose. And so I'm glad Tick addressed it. Well, I'm not gay, so what he does ain't got nothing to do with me. Oh, he said I'm not a sissy. You know, time period, verbiage. So don't come for me because I will be like, yeah, let me come back. Anywho, at the end of the day, Montrose like, I just felt you needed to know because your daddy Montrose been hanging out with him a whole lot. So now that has put salt on Tick and he's looking around trying to figure things out. Now he's questioning his father with, how do you know the guard to let us back in here tonight? Oh, I know him from the bar. I'm questioning how these people know each other and just be bouncing around town like that. But hey, whatever. But I didn't see, again, I'm trying to keep myself in the mind state of, it's the 50s. Your daddy being closeted gay could be an issue. I just don't see it. I really don't. But I do agree with Tick when he brings up at some point, and this is where we're going to get into the heart racing. They have to get into the vault in order to get the stolen pages from this Book of Adam. The vault reminds me every bit of the Goonies. Somebody else mentioned Indiana Jones. I guess those folks who like Indiana Jones, Temple of Doom, that's it. But I just remember, y'all, the Goonies was always on in the 80s. And it wasn't like you see now, but it was just hilarious. Like, what? I could have did it. The fact that little thin wood plank stretches out for looks like miles in the still dark. I was glad Letitia stopped moving. She's like, something flying around. Baby, it was a cutting blade swinging left to right, left to right. It reminded me of Goonies and The Mummy, with the first one, when it's really, really good. But the traps are there. Don't ask me why, but when they entered the museum, all I could see them as was Scooby-Doo and a gang. Like the 3 showing up to do something just felt like Velma with Shaggy and Scooby, or Velma with Thelma and Fred on a mission. It's like, okay, y'all, this is 1950s. I personally couldn't have done it when Tick went down the rope. I have no upper body strength. I wish I could. I made it my business to be like, you know what? The next generation gonna have it. And so rock climbing, style climbing, we do it all. These kids better be able to use all that strength. They're gymnasts. Let's go. Tick goes down. He tells the other 2, look, I got 3 doors to choose between. I'm sorry, I'm doubling back. But next thing you know, Letitia just coming down. Like, whoa. Then there's Daddy's coming. I don't even know which door to go through. So they just randomly go. Daddy's like, we on a time crunch. We only got 2 hours. Y'all, that's how we choose one tunnel. And I'm glad Tick bought the lantern that was at the start of the tunnel. Walked through. It's a struggle. They feel water. The water is rising based on the moon. That goes in line with science. I can follow. it gets to an open space that we don't know how deep this hole is. Is it a ravine, a canal? I don't know. It's just an empty black space. It's super dark. Leticia gets across it pretty good. They tie knots around each other. I don't know what value it has. Sorry, y'all. I haven't done such since Girl Scouts. Again, in the early 90s. But at the end of the day, Montrose explains, family heritage from enslavement, keeping the horses accounted for and clear, made it where by the time his great ancestors walked off with Juneteenth, they had no lashes because they never lost a horse. At any rate, all three are bound to one another. They make it across as the plank is now dissipating. Either termites or magic is making it disappear. Whatever. They get to the door. Montrose recalls what he just read with the Adam and Eve allegorical references. And so they're able to open. Everything is a maze. Everything is a puzzle. Everything is... It's like the ultimate labyrinth. It just is. There's always something to do. Anywho, they go through and realize, hey, there's the elevator. I think that's the dead guy from my place. So Tick tries to put them on the elevator. Y'all, I was ready to threaten somebody. If that elevator goes up to her house and you could have just took the elevator and got here. I know it's the 50s. I know road trips are exciting to some people. But baby, 16 hours, and it was 6 of them in that car. You hear me? Tick, D, and Mama. So Auntie Hippolyta in the front seat. In the back was Montrose, Tree, and Leticia. Ain't no way. I would have cussed everybody out in there. FYI though, let me back up. I do appreciate how as the plank is disappearing, Michael K. Williams is screaming for Tick, you better not lose me. You better not lose me. Don't let me die. He's like, you got to jump. Oh, baby. Once he jumped, made it, and then got through the door opening, it was just so heartwarming to see the ultra blackness. The culture is there, which is the daddy, Montrose, screams, oh, I could beat Jesse Owens. They got nothing on me. Baby, if that ain't one of my uncles. Like you just made it through a life harrowing situation. And your reference point isn't, oh, thank you, I made it. To whatever deity you pray to. It's Jesse Owens ain't got nothing on me. Child, Jesse Owens ain't even compete with you. But again, I grew up with this. I know those men. I have a great love and affinity for it. So you laugh and you move on and you be like, all right, we grow. Let's go. So I do appreciate the humor at that point as well. Because again, it was just stressful. I don't like heights. Leticia is not my size. I am close to her sister Ruby size. That's as simple as that. Top heavy and all. But you want me to play games? Thank God she was wearing Keds. I told y'all I would never wear heels at that time. You black and you got to get off the bus or got to walk or some folks chasing you because it's sundown. Baby, I would have a pair of Keds on every day. You hear me? I know y'all like, that's not how it works. But let's move along. We cut back to Ruby shows up at Marshall Fields. I was so excited to see it because, again, I remember when I came to the Midwest and I was like enamored. Marshall Fields is what we have in the South. It's Dillard's, where Belk is striving to be. But Belk is still in business, so Belk is winning. And Marshall Fields didn't because Macy's bought them out. What Macy's is on the East Coast, or originally was, but now they shutting down stuff. So it ain't just Saks, Fifth Avenue, but it is the higher end parts. Ruby is determined, honey. Going in with her interview, she got a shot of confidence. She ready to take over the dirt. She gets up in that department store and notices a colored girl. Colored woman excited to come over and help her. You shop here? How long have you been? Oh, she was so sincerely, like, she conveyed that. I can't even imagine. Because I am a staunch proponent of, I go where I want to go. There is nothing that stops me from such. Now, I'm talking about within the bounds of America, because y'all can do whatever you want elsewhere, and I do follow local rules and customs and traditions. However, in America, especially in places we've been in the Midwest, my sister hates it. She always points out when there are those who feel you don't belong here, so why are you here? But I've had the run-ins in the Midwest where it's my own people acting like they're shocked you're in charge when they walk in the room. I've had friends who get really offended. Like my really great friend. I'm going to call him best friend, even though I know he has another little girl competing for that title. So he worked in AIDS prevention and community outreach. And whenever him and colleagues would be together, people would automatically walk up to the Caucasian male, and it would drive Mr. Dre. So shout out to Mr. Dre for always working in the community to help make us all better. As an openly gay man, he was on it. And now he's elevated to newer positions, better pay, and he doesn't feel it as much. I have had it, where I've had standing in court to represent a meth head, and I've had my own people walk up to talk to her. Even though I'm dressed for court, as I should be, with an attaché case, and that's one time you definitely gonna find me in heels. And clients have had to say, she's my lawyer. And then people get taken aback. And it's like, are you kidding me? Can we kind of stop that? I feel some kind of way when I find out my sorority sisters and friends are dealing with it, even in Louisiana. Like, one dismisses it as, well, I understand. Mothers and girlfriends show up in court for men. What? In what world? Y'all, get an attorney whenever something's going on. And two, never miss a court date. That's the best takeaway I can give you. So let's get back to the shot, because I enjoyed the reanimation of the lady who was from the indigenous tribe speaking Iowa. You could tell she was one of the Caribe, or I don't even know if we want to say Caribe Indians. Well, one of the indigenous of the Caribe. So Titus went there with this book, and he wanted somebody to be able to read it for him. Titus is smart, I'll tell you that, if he figured all that out and then found a group of individuals who could possibly do it. But that's what explorers do. I don't even know if it's smart. It's just educated guess, hypotheses, and then you go follow up and you learn about it. Well, I'm confused why they just didn't snatch the paper and run, but they stood there, watched her reanimate, and find out she presented with 2 genital sets, and I appreciated that because that was one of my first exposures to 2 genital sets. Not intersex individuals that we see in the text for America, but primarily through the indigenous. I was in a Spanish class and learned that in undergrad. The indigenous identify with multiple spirits being in one person, that you don't have to present gender for the carcass body that shows is who you are, or you could have both in one. And they had multiples, I think up to 4 or 6. The number was really high. So I was like, oh, watch out, we're doing homework over here, baby. This show is for those who not only want to be educated, but have the exposure or the intellectual curiosity to want to know. Have read a book, continue to read. They all read, all of them, all the time. So you gotta really shout out to showing what Black excellence looks like, even at, what we're gonna say, on a day-to-day basis, middle class level, Southside Chicago. I can give so many labels, but it's worth talking about. I look forward to next episode, because talking on Ruby, this is gonna go over. Blue Eyes, who works with Christina White, beats up the cops who are following her, says he has a date. He goes over, we see Ruby drunk singing horribly, because she all upset about Marsha Field's job not being hers, and it finally got explained. But I'm like, Ruby, can you know this? Even if you do earnestly believe in your heart of hearts, no matter what was going on in America at that time, no 2 colored people were going to be working in a place where they had 200 employees. Okay, I get it, just the one. That's why I don't like being the only one. Y'all gonna understand that about me. And I hate being the first in these numbers. I had an older soror who taught me that the first in 2006, that's offensive. She's right. But anyway, back to Ruby. So Ruby's like, Blondie, look, Blue Eyes, I'm not here to just have sex with you. Yep, I know you would want me to be coarse and direct. I would hope so. You came all the way down here. That's what y'all do, slum it to sleep with us. Ultimately, though, she concedes. She really did, because he offers to give her everything. She's like, I've been had that offered to me time and again. I'm a little different, and that's been since a teenager. I can not imagine what it was like trying to filter in the 50s and 60s. The genuineness, the sincerity of an opposite race individual approaching you and not thinking it's some, fantasy, BDSM, bed wench, BS, slave reenactment. Let's, have dominant, submissive playing going on. But instead, he genuinely cares and wants to know you. I can't imagine. I'm thinking at some point, though, some peaks must have been easier to identify, because they're willing to take, the ass whoopings you saw your boy get on Do the Right Thing. Joe, I forgot, Turturro? No, that's not it. The daddy was Joe, whatever. At any rate, yeah, he was sincere. You was willing to get your butt stomped on the way to meet the woman you supposed to go out with. And they threw real metal trash cans at him at the Sal Pizzeria. The Bronx Story, the Italian with the black girl in that story. Hell's Kitchen movie with Tiffany Haddish. And she married an Irish boy to, elevate. So, okay, Ruby, I'm assuming the liquor must have got to her. And she was like, all right then, white boy, let's go. And it's so funny because that is truly the vernacular. I'll say it in a heartbeat. But I'm waiting to see how this plays out. Because you know what? Even if he promised you the world, how the hell we go from drinking, sleeping together, I'm going to get the world, I'm going to learn about magic. Now I'm dressed as your servant. I don't care if we have to pass it off to be able to hide the relationship, and that's why we're going to play to be your servant, like Godfather of Harlem. That's how they was able to get by with this one Italian guy that they ultimately killed, that Forrest Whitaker didn't have permission to kill, or Bumpy Johnson didn't have permission to kill. I get it. For the purposes of cheating, I don't get it from me, because I wouldn't go along with it. No, baby. It's either I am elevated, and you understand my place in this. I cannot see me putting on a domestic uniform to hide the relationship under no circumstance. Baby, I'll move back in with my sister. You hear me? I'll grit and bear it. And I got some real principles. So I'm assuming when she saw that branding on his chest, it didn't turn her off. Although I don't even like it when fraternity brothers get it. Oh, and this on their arm with Omega. I've seen it on an iota. Your boy who played Barack Obama, who's now in P-Valley, has a brand. I had to go look that up. Like, he's in the Divine Nine? Maybe not, but anyway, it makes my skin crawl a little bit. Then being black, I have an issue with it. Historically, like, I can't even imagine what your parents would say or not say. But, I'm coming from a place where our people were branded. Yes, the fleur-de-lis was used in Louisiana to mark the enslaved as belonging to that property. Now, I watched Yellowstone. I laughed when Jimmy got his brand and a few other folks. But that's them. They're Caucasians sitting in Wyoming running the place. You're not subjugated to some BS and everybody got power and, position over you. So it just has double meaning. So I look forward to it, the previews and all. This has ran long. I know most of y'all give up after 19 minutes. I'm sorry if I went in too many different directions, but I hope you stick with it to learn that the lady who reanimated name was Yahima Marakoti. She is indigenous. Her people got murdered and brought to her. Titus kept her locked in that room to translate that book. If she ever got out, instead of being able to communicate, it becomes like a siren. Thankfully, Tick was smart enough to knock her out, so we have to hear that screaming. He talks to her, though. She thinks she can learn enough to break the book, but he's going to teach her English. Montrose has decided to cut her throat. I thought Montrose was going in there for sex. The duality piece. She had a penis and a vagina. So I'm thinking he was turned on by that. Nope, slit her throat. I was so hurt. And I know some people's like, I hate him. But I'm concerned. When I saw them come out the water, like, how y'all going to explain being wet, getting back in the car? And instead, they wasn't in the car. They took the elevator and went back to the house. And so Dee asked her mama, how did they get back to Chicago without Woody? Hippolyta said, But she saw Dee with that map. That's your daddy's stuff. She pulls over. She reads that map. She saw they were going to Ann Arbor, Massachusetts. Mama D turned that car around. Look here. And y'all can judge me, but she is going to get answers. I'm going to tell you at that moment, I cut all judgment and reservation out to tell you this. I have went further, faster, and longer to get to the same. I want truth. The truth matters. So I ain't mad at Hippolyta. Look here, my husband can't come up dead and I got a whole child over here, almost an orphan, because of some foolishness. It don't sit right with my soul. So I say faster because Lord help her. I don't know how fast that wagon could go back then. Maybe 55, but honey, I have driven some places. Hell, took some flights too. And brought back up if I needed it. So with that being said, shout out to Misha Green. I did not expect that murder. Clearly, Montrose has an agenda. I don't know if it's just to keep his child safe. For now, I'm going to cloak myself with ignorance and choose to believe that. Shout out for keeping the cultural references, making it authentic. I mean, although they're in the Midwest, I feel the connection there. It feels like, familiarity. Yeah, familiar. Y'all know what I'm trying to say, and I still mess it up. I genuinely wish they would just preload all this so we can watch all the episodes. I hate weekly check-ins, but hey, maybe this will grow the channel. Likes, comment, subscribe. If you're still here at 35 minutes, shout out to you for being like my day one type fan. And enter. Let me know. Yo, Joyce, I subscribed. So put me in the raffle. I will make that drawing happen. Y'all have